Hello everyone, this is God's Orphan. You might be wondering, what am I doing exactly for today's video? For entertainment purposes only, I'm going to be trying to humanize my relationship, at least my parasocial relationship in my head with Lisa Ann, someone who I used to frequently fap to, under acid and reacting to one of her appearances on a podcast, which I think was not too long ago. And I just felt this was a good way to really show men that, like, one of the ways that you can overcome your porn addiction is by humanizing the subject in the frame. And this is going to be hard because I'm currently on a come up for a small dose of LSD. And again, experienced user. This is for entertainment purposes only, gentlemen. And I feel a little funny right now. And one of the weird things with psychedelics, sometimes it does arouse you. And this is going to be a challenge. This is definitely going to be a challenge because all my memories of her have mostly been with various films and various, point of view films. And to see her in a different light for the first time after overcoming my porn addiction and trying to, like, be her friend in my head a little bit. Try to see her side of the story, humanize her. So that's what I'm planning to do. It's going to be a long video, but it's going to be about me introspecting on acid to humanize my relationship with Lisa Ann. Because she is a human like me. Okay, I'm repeating myself. Let's get started.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Holly Randall Unfiltered. Today is...
I should probably clarify, please support Holly Randall's podcast. I'm just merely reacting to it, but I haven't seen a lot of her episodes. This is actually the first time I'm seeing this episode and her. But please support the podcast on the original source. Always support your original sources. Thank you.
I'm so excited about today. I get to sit down. I mean, technically this is an interview, but really it's more of the opportunity for me to sit down with my dear friend, Lisa Ann. I'm so excited to have her here. So Lisa, thank you for being here.
I'm so excited this worked out in person.
I know.
I mean, we got used to doing remote interviews, but it's kind of lame. And now that we can't.
Okay, I'm just going to be honest with you here. She is extremely attractive and quite beautiful now, more than I ever thought before. And this is going to be quite a challenge. But let's pull through.
And be right across me. I got to interview you, but it was remote, and this is just great.
Yeah, I find the Zoom interviews are tough, especially if you're working with someone who has a bad connection, which has happened to me a few times.
It's the worst. Because
the delay, and you end up like talking over each other a lot, and it just makes you realize how much we read body language in person. Like, because generally you can tell if someone's about to say something, but like you can't really sense that like on a remote.
Okay, so this is a very interesting point. This is something I deeply struggle with because of my porn addiction, because my relationship with women has become transactive or transactional. So I wasn't able to pick up on body language cues and whatnot because I was mostly exposing myself to the screen. And I think she raises a really interesting point here in that when you start thinking more presently and you're trying to humanize relationship, being in person really helps. So for those men who are struggling with porn addiction, just talking to people and relearning body language is a really important skill. This is something that I do. I highly recommend the YouTube channel Charisma on Command. I've been using some of the tips from that video to really make me more sociable. And I think that that's something that is corrupted as an addict's brain, especially with pornography.
Meeting or podcast. So you just always end up stepping on each other.
You step on each other, and as the person that's the host, you're worried, how is this going to edit? That was kind of blurry. Is that going to come out clear? Are we going to have to clip that? Should I re-say?
Another reaction, just quickly, she doesn't sound like she sounds very human versus like how she portrays herself in porn. Less of the, there's a deeper voice she has in porn, if I remember correctly, but yeah, this is really interesting. I already see her as a different person now.
Say that, like all of that happens.
Totally. Yeah. I've definitely had it a couple of times where I'm like, okay, stop. All right, let me say that again. And also just like the energy's different, being in person.
It is, and it's so great to see you. It's been since 2019.
God, so much time has gone by.
I know, and it's a blip, but planning this trip to come and see you and to have you shoot photos of me was just, it's a huge like part of my life. And being back here with you, it's just driving up the lane to the ranch. I was like, wow, like this has been half my life of being in the valley, like just driving through the valley. You drive through all these locations. You're like, oh, there's a shoot house there. Oh, Jessica Drake's house is over there. Like we're driving over, and my girl was like, this is just all porn land to you. I'm like, well, that's how I learned my way around the valley.
Yeah.
Going to shoot locations. Why else would you be driving in a cul-de-sac in the valley? You wouldn't.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because a lot of like the classic shoot locations are no longer there, and like new places have popped up. And
Yeah, on that point, like I don't know what anything is like. I don't experience the OnlyFans thing because like those kind of little bit. I quit porn before it became popularized, especially during COVID. But yeah, like the porn industry has vastly changed compared to the centralized nature that it used to be.
it's still a nightmare trying to get shoot locations.
I'm sure.
To be fair, it's just I find I'm doing a lot of stuff downtown because there's so much open space there,
Which is a nice drive for you. And I say that in jest.
It's great. Fucking hour and a half.
Might as well get a
sometimes.
hotel and just stay down there for 2 days.
You know what? I don't mind the drive so much. It's the parking.
Yep.
The parking is, especially with my van. I have this huge equipment
I love how you
van.
do
And
it.
so most underground parking spaces won't let me
Sure, 'cause
park
it's
there.
it's too high.
Yeah. Or they just won't because they're dicks. Or they look at me and the parking will say like $5 all day. They will literally look at me and just guess. I've been charged $45 to park in like an open parking lot. And there's nothing I can say.
No, there's nothing you can do about it. And also, the spots are narrow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you got to
fuck
wheel
parking.
in one now.
Parking's
So great, there's a
bullshit.
spot. Oh, I can't fit in that one. Okay,
Yeah.
there's a spot. I can't fit in that. Oh, there's a motorcycle.
Yeah. And then unloading.
Yeah.
And then loading. Anyways, I'm sure this is thrilling conversation.
This is riveting
Oh, trust me, it's amazing conversation.
podcasting right here. And we're glad you're here live if you're here live.
Just sit here and just complain about shooting for the next hour. Believe me, I can do that. But let's talk about you and
Okay.
about how much your life has changed. You're back in New York. You live there now. You are no longer in the adult industry. You've made this incredible transition to mainstream, which I think is
Oh, I didn't know she stopped doing porn. Okay, I thought she was still in it. That's really interesting. Okay, so this is a nice little like tie off. It's quite symbolic actually that she's off porn, I'm off porn, and now we're trying to be friends. At least in my head, anyway.
enviable for so many people. I always make this joke, but it's kind of true. Like porn's kind of like the black hole. You have to move faster than the speed of light to get out because it's very difficult to make that transition because of the stigma attached with the work that you do. And I know I've asked you this question on a previous podcast, but not everybody's seen all of my shows. So like, why do you think that you've been able to make that successful transition?
Tenacity. Just understanding that there's going to be more no's than yeses. Understanding that when I walk into rooms, there's going to be people that make me feel very uncomfortable, and being able to live in that discomfort.
Wow, that's you have to give her some credit. Like getting that stigma put into your face day after day when you're trying to change yourself is hard, and I think that's something that you will face as a porn addict. You might perceive the world as like looking at you differently, and you have to kind of like have that tenacity. So this is cool. Like she's dealt with the same tenacity that I had to deal with when I was overcoming porn addiction.
And I think I know it more now than the mystery guest.
Just no bueno.
I think I know it more now than when you asked me last time because I've seen more. And I realize that you're in your own head a lot when you're in this industry. We do get a lot of discrimination. We get a lot of people judging us. But then when you get out, you realize that there's a lot of totally fucking awesome people out there that don't give a shit about what you did. And that so much of stuff that I was thinking and feeling was maybe in my head.
Okay, very, very important point here. This is how you have to navigate this as an addiction. It's a lot of it is your own judgment in your head. And there's a lot of great people out there who will not judge you for what you went through. And I certainly wouldn't. I think the only time I would judge someone for the addiction is like if they keep coming up with excuses to not follow through despite what they're knowing. But yeah, there's a lot of great people, and there's an infinite number of variables to love someone, and I'm so glad she got to experience that.
And as soon as I started to project something different, I think a big change was the first thing I did when I left the industry was got my boobs reduced. And they still look
What? I didn't. Oh, yeah, they look a little smaller. That's weird. Huh. I would never have noticed. Honestly, yeah, that's weird. Huh. Neat. That's a courageous move, Lisa Ann. Good job.
big because I got so much smaller since then, but they were huge. And I knew that I would feel more comfortable going into a room when I wasn't a 38 triple D, you know? So
38 triple D? Holy shit. Oh, fuck, man. I can't even handle like basic pecs as a man. Fuck, that's brutal.
it was the steps that I took, but then also I've gained a lot of faith in people because I've met so many people now in the other side of the world that didn't care. That look at me and go, hey, however you did your thing, look at you now. You've made money, you've saved money, you've met people, you've traveled, you've seen the world, you've done all these things. And I would say, I thought it was going to be like 25% of the people would accept me and the other 75% would be difficult. And it was the opposite.
Yeah, I really want to like commend her for that. That's actually really, really interesting. The, the journey, like all the things you go through in your journey, become kind of like small data points or plot points that no one's gonna really care about because they'll look at the theme of your journey and what you've accomplished and go, yeah, whatever you did, you did. But look where you are right now, right? Lisa Ann is experiencing that too, and that's exactly how the porn addict journey works. Like you'll eventually reach a point where you'll go, whoa, I overcame that. I'm glad all that happened because I'm in a point in my life where had those things not happened, I won't have the success that I have today. Once you achieve that perspective like she has and like what I have, it's life is infinitely simpler.
And being a part of SiriusXM for 7 years and walking into a building where everyone treated me so well, nobody lowbrowed me, nobody was judgmental to me. It just gave me so much more confidence to walk into other places and be like, well, I just was at a Christmas party with 5,000 people and everybody's super cool to me. I can go into this place now and talk to these people. And so I've gained a lot of confidence by the faith that I've been shown in people. Um, and also, it's interesting that during the pandemic, more people came to me and said, you know, you have to be really happy that you live for you because now here we are locked in our houses. And most people are thinking about all the shit they wish they would have done in their life. And you did whatever you wanted.
Okay, really interesting point here. I like what she said here. I think a lot of people have faced regrets during the lockdown. Lockdowns happened, yet regardless of what your political stance is, you had to face yourself in the lockdown. And she had no regrets, and I had tons of regrets. And that's the pandemic, and I'm sure a lot of you face this, was like the wake up call or the catalyst to change yourself because you're looking at yourself in the mirror for the first time with utmost focus. You're not commuting to work. The world shut down, and you're realizing, yeah, I'm pathetic. That's what I said to myself. I'm pathetic, and I had to start changing. I was on that journey before the pandemic, but the pandemic definitely fueled it.
Yeah. You touched on basically like the law of attraction, which I believe so much in, and especially like, as I've become older and wiser, I think that that's so true. And you do carry yourself with this sense of like this kind of confidence and assurance that I think commands respect. And it's so much, people are attracted to or repelled to that energy that you put out, and it's that weird kind of indescribable aura. And I just think it's such a powerful thing.
Yes, the aura is so. Those who practice semen retention, this is a constant topic. I'm of the opinion, now that I've done this enough and for a long time, I don't think the semen retention alone generates the aura. It's your philosophy and your self confidence generates the aura. Because I'll in nowadays, if I relapse and start on day zero, my aura is still the same. I still talk to people the same way. Like nothing changes. Because I'm relapsing authentically without pornography and any of those things, I just find that you're happier. Like, yeah, it's not a big deal. And people see that. People feel that. Like, oh, this guy's just really assured of himself. And it's that confidence that comes. So, because there's a lot of people in the semen retention community and the nofap community that don't really talk about confidence as a fundamental. Like that's the aura that women see of you. They don't see the like the energies and all that kind of stuff. No, it's just the I'm sure of myself. This is my journey. I'm confident, and they feel that. That's the aura, and that I want to hit on.
Thing because, you know, people like you and there's definitely other names. There's like Sasha Grey. You know, I'm sure I could think of some others, but there's, you know, other people who have made that successful transition. And I think that, you know, I think Sasha said something when I asked her about it. She was like, I don't know. She like wasn't stressed about it too much. She's like, I just knew I had more to offer the world, and I just like did my thing. I think if you
This is what the Hindus call dharma or purpose. Everyone has so much to offer the world. You just got to find your niche. And that's the journey that we're all of us on. What kind of hero do we have to be in the world to give value to other people, to hold up the network of humanity? It's the basic question you got to ask yourself. And everyone, no matter what your past is, has a chance to do that. So, you know, kudos to Holly for recognizing that in other porn stars, and at least the anecdote with Sasha Grey, which I never really fapped to, but I know she had to come back with like the Entourage series when she started becoming more mainstream.
live in like this fear of the shadow of the stigma, people sense it. You know what I mean? Like people treat you the way that I think you command to be treated, and the way you treat yourself.
And I also think moving to New York has been a huge help for me. People are so much less starstruck. People are not asking for photos. I walk down the street and people are like, yo, Lisa, what's up? They yell out their car. Yo, Lisa, what's up? I yell back, what's up? I keep walking. Nobody has time. People are trying to get a train. They're trying to make it somewhere.
If she's wearing sunglasses and a hat, I would not recognize her. And so that's cool. She's able to just be herself, and New York is a little more authentic that way, where everyone's kind of like trying to just grind and survive the chaos in New York City.
We're on time, and it's just this movement, and people are, I guess they've seen everything, right? And they're also not starstruck by anybody, because there's so many celebrities that are just walking in Central Park, and it's just normal. You can hide through more clothes, but I think New York gave me a lot of confidence because I didn't feel like I was always being stared at. In LA, even when I come back to visit, we went to a sushi restaurant a visit or two ago, and one guy realized who I was, and then every single dude that worked in the back came out one at a time.
Oh, that's brutal. I'm sorry she went through that. That is like I'm a very private person when I go outside for dinner, and so I'm just trying to use my experience as like a metric to at least build a bridge with what she went through. And you know, she's obviously past that point in her life, but because of the internet and the videos, like you can still go back to that past, and the fact that she's being looked at like that is like pretty I don't know. I don't think that's appropriate. And obviously that comes with celebrity, but I think the men should avert their gaze a little bit in this situation. Like, just give her some space. She knows what she's done. You don't need to keep reminding her of that. She wants to be human. Just try to see yourself in her shoes.
And walked by my table and stared at me, and at that point, I can't eat. Like at that point, I'm uncomfortable. In New York, nobody does anything like that.
I remember that happened with us when we went to lunch. Remember, where did we go? That place on Melrose.
Yes.
And that guy like recognized you and like followed you to the bathroom and like waited outside.
Yes.
Oh, that's weird. Guys, do not ever do that if you ever see a porn star that you're coming. Don't do that. Leave them alone. Like, fuck, man.
Bathroom. I remember that happening.
Yes.
And like me kind of being like, what is that guy doing?
Oh, that was a great spot too. They had that good jackfruit. Oh, that's right about that.
It was
spot.
like a vegan place.
Yeah, it was right by Trashy Lingerie. Yes, right. Red something.
Red something.
Ooh,
Real food.
Real food. REEL or something. Right by Trashy. But So I think that helped me get out of my fear of looking over my shoulder and being so stared at. New York's given me a ton of confidence, and I have this whole new life there where, I have my new restaurants that I convinced to go with recyclable materials for their takeout so that I would order takeout. Like, I'm now that person in a city that's like, I love your food and I'd love to take it to go, but you use plastic and I can't do that. And will you go to recyclable? And yes. And now I have spots like that. They know me as being recycling girl. They don't give a fuck about me being Lisa Ann.
Weren't you like head of your HOA when you?
I understand what she means. I'm a regular at a few coffee shops, and I'm known as the computer guy because I always have my laptop and like I'm always writing and working on stuff. But it's cool to be known by a moniker of a positive action. So definitely cool on Lisa Ann's part.
You were
I was the
here.
president of my HOA for 2 full terms. Yes,
And
I was.
Are you doing like the same kind of thing in New York?
I'm not, because I'm renting, which is such a freeing thing for someone who owned a home since she was 23 years old. Nothing is better than something breaking and going on an app, and 24/7, a dude's going to be at your place in 5 minutes fixing that thing, and you tip them. You know what I mean? Like, but you don't have to have a creeper in your place. You don't have somebody who's, oh, you're Lisa Ann. Like, no, they all work there and they all want their job. But yes, I was the president of my HOA. And now when I come back to LA, I stay in that building. And my neighbors are a little distraught that I'm not the president because there's some jinky things going on with the HOA.
I bet you got shit done.
So this is what I do, is I teach them how to write emails to get things covered under the HOA. Like, you have to write that the water came in from outside. It's very important. If it comes in from outside, it is the HOA's responsibility.
I'm sure I'm going to hear more anecdotes on this line, but I just want to comment before I forget. She seems to have a lot of interesting life experience here, and clearly she wants to teach people, which is, I think, is the most noble thing to do, is to share your stories and teach people about your perspective on life. And she's obviously doing that on a micro level, which then occurs at different levels of existence. So in the Hermetic principle, what is it? I forgot what the exact line was, as within, so without. Same idea. Like, whatever she's doing internally and how she's thinking about the world, she's trying to manifest that outwardly. And I think that's like, this is a perfect example of that, where even just correcting and teaching someone how to write an email, that will manifest at a different level in her life at a global scale to be a positive change in the world.
But HOA will try to say that's water from inside your unit. No, you have to prove it came from the outside. So I write them the emails and then they cut and paste it. So I'm still secretly working on behalf of the residents.
That's so amazing.
Yeah, we had a woman that was 15 months behind on her HOA dues when I took over. And I said to the last president, like, what are you doing? He's like, well, she didn't answer her phone, whatever. I'm like, I'm going to shake this bitch down. So I shook her down. I got her with her.
Just imagine you showing up at someone's door demanding HOA dues, and just then, like, just imagine if they knew who you were. Like,
She knew.
Just for the record, I don't know what HOA is. I assume it's like the condo board or something, but anyways.
Young guy or something. Like, it's almost like, I could almost see a beginning of a porn scene.
I knew
like that.
she had the money too. She was just ignored. She was just in denial about paying it. And I was like, here's what we're going to do. I'm either serving you and we're going to evict you and we then own your property to sell, because an HOA can do that after 1 year. You don't pay dues. So we're either flipping this bitch or you're going to give me a down payment right now. I had to check day one, that first HOA meeting where I was the president. I threw that check down on the table. I'm like, this bitch is paying. We're going to be caught. They were like, yes. And I had to campaign. Okay. I had to go door to door to my neighbors, only 14 units, but still, I only needed 2 couples on board. They went and talked to everybody else for me. Doesn't matter that she's a porn star. She is going to be the best HOA president we ever had. I was still in the business then. I was shooting scenes and then coming home and sweeping the property. So
Good for her.
Some money.
Good for her.
Because
wow.
I wanted to raise the value to sell my property. And I had an agent come in and she said, your place is great, but because of your HOA, you're going to lose a lot of money. We needed a new roof. We needed some exterior work done. So I was like, all right, I'm on it. It took me 2 years, got all the work done, and then got the money I wanted for my place.
Nobody gets shit done like Lisa Ann. It's fucking amazing.
It was fun.
Yeah, it seems like it.
It is
Fuck,
true.
she's
Jordan
a soldier.
Jordan is my assistant.
In case you're wondering if I'm getting memories of me fapping to her, not right now. It's actually okay. I am just hyper aroused because I am on a psychedelic acid for those who are joining later. But Yeah, so I think it's just more the stimulation. But no, she seems like a bro to me right now. This is awesome.
He's also worked with Lisa. We've known him for years, but we were talking the other day about how like you should really do like a handbook just for like, but and not even because we've talked about this
The
before.
basics: packing your wardrobe bag,
'Cause we-
taking care of your skin and hair, your
Right.
nails.
We talked about like you doing like a handbook or like some kind of 101 for porn stars because you're just the most organized person in the world. But like you could literally do that for anything.
Sure,
Like,
have your shit together, be on
just-
time.
Okay, so how do you always have your shit together? Like, do you ever get tired of following through on stuff? Or is it like one of those things that drives you where you're like, I can't sleep at night until I do this? Like, is it ever a burden for you? Or is it like, does it bring you great joy to like cross something off your list?
So I've learned to not take on more than I can handle. And I've put myself in a much better pace.
That's a lesson I'm still trying to learn. That's a hard lesson to learn. I think you have to just keep challenging yourself to find your limits. And eventually, if you keep challenging yourself, you start cutting away some of the extra fat and bullshit, and you'll find a system that works for you. But I think the only way to learn that is by overloading yourself. So I mean, let's see what she has to say, but I have a feeling she did that and she found what works for her.
Because yes, it used to burden me and it used to
Yep,
cut
there we
into
go.
my sleep time.
Yep, there
I
it
had
is.
no social life for a period of my time in the industry. Now that I became a minimalist and I got rid of 75% of my belongings
Good for her.
and moved into an apartment and simplified my life, I only take on what I really want to be invested in. And I've spent more time, whether it's virtually, even during the pandemic, FaceTime, or with people in the past 2.5 years than I had in 20 years. More quality time with my friends. More every night I'm on a FaceTime for 2 hours with a different friend.
Wow, that's incredible. And again, I think a lot of us in the pandemic definitely had to face why we're feeling isolated or alone or like what have you. The fact that she's humanizing even herself through social connections, it's kind of interesting that she had that moment where she's humanizing her social relationships through video, almost like what I'm doing right now with me reacting to her on podcast through video. And but in some ways, a lot of us were objectifying her through video. It's kind of a weird parallel or like yin and yang or juxtaposition between what she was going through, what many of us in the pandemic were probably going through, trying not to watch porn or maybe watching porn and, what have you. But it's really interesting that the same tools are useful for her to build more connections. And it just shows you technology is just a tool. It's just really how you use it.
Just connecting with people, because before I had so much on my to-do list, and as the person that I am, I had to get it done. So what would sacrifice would be me, my being. So now I just pick my pleasure and the things that I'm committed to, I commit, but I say no to a lot more than I ever have. And I allow myself days like where I'm going to get a massage and then I'm going to go home and either watch some horrible binger of like 90 Day Fiance, some trash TV, or I'm going to read, but I will take a day where I don't talk to anybody and I just want to be doing nothing. So from the exterior, it looks like I'm working all the time, but really I've just paced myself to kind of perfect the projects that I'm doing and not overwhelm myself with things that I really don't want to do.
On that point, one thing I found was helpful for me for staying productive is that you should only time box your activities for about 3 to 4 hours a day. I don't think the human brain can work intensely for more than 3 to 4 hours a day on cognitive tasks. And I try to do mine in the morning. And it's funny because a lot of people ask me, well, how are you able to still, produce content? Because I have other YouTube channels that I'm not anonymous for. And I produce content on not a regular basis, but enough that people go, oh, how are you able to keep up? Because I have friends that ask me. And I just have a system, but I also do it consistently in short bursts, which is better than trying to marathon everything and sprint everything at the same time. Like you want to carry a balance, and I found constraints help with that. So I try to only work on my creative projects for at most 3 hours a day.
You know it's a no. When someone asks you and you're like, I really don't want to, but I'm gonna because I need the work, or I'm gonna because I like them, or I'm gonna. I don't have those ties in New York. I had them here.
Yeah. See, I struggle with that so much. And that's something that I've been thinking about a lot because look, I'm fortunate enough that I built a brand and a name that people come to me for stuff, especially since I did the podcast. I can't tell you how many people come to me. They want me in their documentary. They want to interview me for this. They want to interview
But they
me
don't want
for
to pay
that.
you.
Of course not. Which I
Right.
understand. Like, you don't get paid for documentaries. Like, I get that, but I can't do every single document. Or I have people who just want to interview me and ask me questions about a documentary that they're doing, but they don't want, I'm not going to be in it.
They're using you for their homework.
Right.
I actually do now say to them, if you'd like to pay me a consulting fee, I'll answer all the questions you want.
Yeah.
But my time is worth something. And they're appalled.
Yes, very important. Time's the only resource you have. Please remember that as much as you can. Value your time. And I think women know this better than men because there's a lot of clocks in a woman's existence. You have your menstrual cycle, your fertility cycle, and your circadian rhythm. It's like 3 levels of clocks. And with men, we only have 1 clock for the most part. So yeah, definitely value your time. And when you get good at something, you should be paid for it. And if she just is getting paid for her opinions on various topics, by all means, right? Like, you should definitely monetize whatever knowledge you have available to help other people, because people are willing to pay for it, and you shouldn't be afraid to use that leverage. That's something that I'm working on right now on my own business.
Yeah.
But I've had 2 pay me.
Yeah.
So I got to say no to 20.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It is a lot. And it's like, and I hear that because I don't want to become that person, because I remember when I was trying to get somewhere and I needed advice from somebody, if they wanted a consulting fee, like what I would think about them. But you're right, because like you get to a point where I cannot say yes to everything.
No.
Like I just like it cut. And then, especially now that I have a child, like if I'm going to spend this day, like work for sitting down with you to be interviewed for your documentary, and you're not even going to put me in it, which, that might be valuable for me in a way where I would get like FaceTime and publicity.
Sure.
Then I can't work on these other things that I really need to get done to make me money.
Right.
So it's just like, and I think that's something I didn't really understand until I'm at this place now. So I am trying to say no to more things, but like in a kind
The documentaries too, quite a few times I have done things for people, and then I don't like the tone of how the documentary, like they come to me with this idea, like it's going to be a positive take on the industry, and we're going to talk about female empowerment and this and then 4 months into these weekly phone calls they want you on, and can you give me this person's phone number, and you don't want to give it, so you got to reach out to that person and ask them if it's okay.
Yeah, you know what? When you say yes to projects like this, and this is for anyone who's working with anyone about anything, when you say yes, it comes with a set of no's that you have to say to other people, and it may come with a set of yeses that you have to say yes to them about the project, right? So you always be careful with this. It's hard. It is unpredictable, but I think experience will teach you this in the long run.
4 months down, it's like, oh no, this is going to be about agents and the horrible things that they've done to people. We've decided to, and I'm like, that's not what I need to be giving my time to. I don't want to burn bridges. I don't want people to think I'm part of a negative conversation. But there's a lot of people, and in journalism, they do pay their leads a lot of times because they're going to make money selling this product to Netflix, or they're going to make money. You don't want to pay any of us, but yet you want me to be at your disposal for 8 hours a week to talk on. No.
Yeah.
I just say I gave that up for Lent, and I'm really sorry I decided not to take it back.
But yeah, I think the time management and the saying no, and trying to kind of simplify your life is
That's the probably easiest way to simplify your life. Just by default, say no to everything. And then eventually, when you do need to say yes, it becomes very obvious on why you should say yes. I totally support this philosophy.
Something that I was forced to deal with when I had a kid, because I suddenly had less time. I didn't want to work 24/7. I wanted to have time to see her.
And you also need time to take care of you.
Yeah.
Whether it's doctor's appointments or whatever it may be that you want to do for you. And sometimes we put that aside to do all these little things. We put us aside.
Yeah.
Take care of everybody else.
Was there anything in particular that, like, did you feel like this was a monumental shift to your new way of thinking and your way of, creating those boundaries? Or is it just something that, like, kind of you slowly started to adapt as time went on?
It was really a monumental shift of my mindset. I felt more empowered. I felt stronger. I felt satisfied with what I was doing and didn't need the extra, because all that really becomes is extra. And yes, you can get a little leverage out of being in a good documentary, but at the end of the day, comes out and you really don't, right?
That's good. She's able to distinguish between necessity and kind of luxury or extras. That's an area that I think when you're on your addiction journey or your porn addiction journey, we're trying to overcome it. Really look about or really investigate how much of your lifestyle in general across the board is hinges on other people's view of you, and it's just extra baggage that you probably don't need. It's something to really think about. It's something that surprised me on my journey because I realized that the reason why I was so addicted to pornography was because I felt insecure about my performance in sex. And then I realized that I'm actually pretty okay. Actually, I'm very good. But I don't want it as much as I thought I did. I think I realized that that pressure came from our social culture, our culture that, oh, you have to keep having sex. I'm like, no, you don't. Less is more. And I rather put the energy towards business building or fitness or learning or creating videos to help other people with porn addiction, right? It's just energy, and you have to really learn how to bucket it properly. Yes, you can waste your energy in other ways, but most times be mindful and store your energy as much as you can, and then use it when the right chance occurs. So kudos to Lisa Ann for trying to streamline that process for her.
And then you're like, oh my gosh, I gave this time. And I just felt this feeling of, if I'm going to be doing something and it's going to be just volunteer work, I'd rather do actual volunteer work. I'd rather raise money for a charity. I'd rather be a part of the group at MoMA that helps raise money for something. I'd rather do something that's just feeding my soul instead of feeding somebody else's project. And then the learning to say no was just, once I started doing it, how good it felt to have more time for my people, how good it felt to celebrate my friendships and be like, man, this is just so great. And yes, I'd love to help you with this, but I have a friend's wedding.
See, she's saying no. And another thing to definitely work on when you're on your porn addiction journey, and something that I'm not sure she does it, but it sounds like she's thinking that way anyway, so it's really good, is definitely be grateful of what you have. So what I usually do most mornings, I'm not perfect, I write down, what I'm grateful for and try to start off with externals. So grateful for your friends, your family, your job, and then eventually start being grateful for your characteristics and what you like. And that way you can build a very soulful relationship with your internal psyche and your soul, if you believe in that. And it sounds like she's definitely done that kind of work. So definitely kudos to her.
And I'm not going to cancel it. I want to go a day early to hang out with everybody. Things that I never did before.
Yeah.
I just feel like I'm living.
Yeah. What do you find that you value the most in life right now?
My relationships, for sure. And it can bring me to tears to realize how little I valued them for so many years of my life.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have strong ones.
Yeah.
And now that I do, it's just, it changes.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I definitely understand that. When I changed some of my friendships, you start realizing how much of your friendships were actually fueling subconsciously your addiction or your insecurities. And you begin to realize who your real friends are. And that's heartbreaking, actually. And you can tell she's been through that pain and she's trying to hold on to, wow, I have really good friendships right now. So yeah, I definitely feel you on that one, Lisa.
Is your life?
Yeah. I think so much of what we seek in life, money, success, career, cars, we think is what's going to lead us to good relationships, right? Because people are going to like us. People are going to find us valuable because we have those
people
things.
Are vultures.
But then we find that the people who do like us because we have those things are not the kind of people who value people. And it's very empty.
Yep.
They love things instead of people.
Yeah.
And this expression that the minimalists use that I love is use things, love people. Stripping down my life, the hardest thing to get rid of was my car. Because a car is a sign of independence, right? We started driving, and as soon as you got a car, you're like, I can just go take a drive. I can get away from my parents. When I was young, we could put a handful of change in our gas tank and go somewhere. And I remember sitting at the dealership, turning in my car before I moved to New York, thinking I am absolutely stripped down to nothing. There's nothing identifying me as being different than anybody else. A better car made you feel like you were better than somebody else sitting in traffic. And now I don't have a better car. I don't have a car.
Yeah.
And I
Wow, really humbling moment for sure. Yeah, a lot of these are just externalities. When you strip everything out, we're all naked humans, right? One thing that I try to remember, which actually helped me overcome some of my porn addiction, is like I know some weird men, and I'm saying weird because you should recognize it is weird to get off to, fecal matter porn. I know that was a thing, and that was never my thing. It was disgusting. And one way to humanize porn stars is imagine them taking a dump. I didn't have to do that with Lisa Ann. I'm trying to do that right now while on acid. And yeah, she's human. She's just like me. And I mean, she has feelings. She has a soul. She has goals. She has dreams. She has heartbreak. Um, yeah, it's cool. It's cool to see her thriving in a honest take on the human experience.
think that like getting to New York December of 2019, the world closing in March of 2020, and me adapting to like having no stuff was wild because then it was like, oh, I have all this free time because I'm not managing my stuff. So now I'm just going to talk to my friends. What do you do when you have free time? Talk to your friends. And I just realized these friendships that I've had. And though I enjoyed them, I didn't value them. And I didn't realize how much better it felt to talk to somebody for 2 hours than it felt to go to the mall and buy a bunch of shit or to go shopping or to have my car.
Yeah.
Stripping myself of everything really showed me who I am.
Do you think the pandemic had like a big, like, how did,
On that note, there's a reason why, in a similar way, soldiers and Buddhist monks shave their heads because you want to depersonalize yourself as much as possible. And you can do that without having to shave your head. You can do that by getting rid of your stuff. So kudos, Lisa, for depersonalizing yourself to figure out who you are as a person.
how did the pandemic affect your life specifically?
I think becoming a minimalist right before the pandemic made my life a lot easier.
Oh, she's
So I
lucky.
was still living here and I had 4 bathrooms. I'd have been worried, what if one leaks? I got to have people come in. Do they wear masks? Do you COVID test them? Like all these things.
Yeah.
And taking care of a big place, I didn't have any responsibility. So I was on the city bike every day in the middle of the street in New York City. There were no cars. There was no noise. You would just meet up with other people riding bikes. And there'd be like little bike gangs of different age group people just meeting up. All right, we'll meet up at Times Square. Okay, we'll meet up at the water. And then there's like 25 of you. You're just tooling around the city on a bike like a child.
Yeah.
I really lived out my most freeing time. I felt no guilt. I'm not saying no to anybody. I don't have to say no to an event. I don't have to say no to do anything. But I recorded my audiobook in my bedroom closet. It took me a month because I work with Kay, who you introduced me to. And I knew Kay had no work. So I said, Kay, let's come up with some projects, some things that we could do.
So, on a similar note, in some ways, she was like getting rid of her addiction to her old self, because I do think you can kind of view your old lifestyle as an addiction and you can kind of get rid of it. And it doesn't have to be about porn, it can be about your spending habits or whatnot. One of the things that helps a lot is creativity. So you can see her, how much energy she has talking about her creativity and how she's like going about things. This is really the only way through addiction, I think. Like the one way for sure is you have to be creative. And I don't mean you have to channel that energy outwards, because most of us are in a consumption mindset. You want to create more than you consume. As I mentioned, the Mount Walsh reaction video, look at her. She had all the time in the world. She was still creating. That's how you should lead life. And kudos again to Lisa for being a good example for us.
I'll find content that you can edit. And they said to me, I just recorded an audiobook. I can teach you what equipment you need and how to set up your closet. If you want to record your audiobook, I'll edit it. So we did it remotely. So I found little projects. I wrote a list of things I'd procrastinated, but I found that I was comfortable in my space because I had less to take care of. I wasn't wrapped up in all the old stuff that I was. And I think that beat of my friends all being available to talk, we all bonded. Like we were.
one thing I want to note, one of the biggest energy sinks you'll experience in your porn addiction recovery, or any sort of reflection on past history and trauma and all that kind of stuff, how much energy that takes away from you. And what I was going to say, sorry, the acid's really kicking in now. What I wanted to say about that was you need to try to build some safeguards where you realize, oh, wait a minute, I'm actually overthinking my past and thus not acting upon my future self, right? Because a lot of times and this is what I don't like about modern therapy, they put you in the past too much. The past doesn't control you, and you have to convince yourself of that. And it takes some time. It's not easy, but you got to create to really embody that mindset. So this is what I want to highlight.
We're all on Words with Friends every day, playing Scrabble, trying not to cheat. And I really, it put my feet on the ground.
Yeah, I feel like that it changed a lot of people's lives. And
made me so much more grateful.
Yeah.
So much more grateful. Every trip I take right now, I'm like so happy to be at the airport, so happy to chat with everybody. I'm like, we are doing things again. We are out. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's funny. I always feel like everything happens for a reason. And then when the pandemic first started, of course, it was obviously, this huge like stressor and tragedy and, oh my God, what's the world coming to? So much sadness. And obviously, all of those things still apply. I don't want to discount any of the lives that were lost or anything like that. But I do, I always try to look for some kind of silver lining. And I do think that it really made us all sit back and go like, what's important in life?
Yep.
I said at the beginning, people were going to go one way or the other.
Yeah.
You're either going to come out of this a better person or a worse person. Those
Yep.
are your two choices.
I 100% agree with that. I did an audit of my friends, and most of them end up being the same person or worse. Few actually took the reins on to become a better person. And everyone has different timelines, but I think it was a disservice not to try to become a better person during the pandemic.
Seen it both ways. Some people have become very impatient. They watch too much news. They drank too much. There were some people that were very destructive, but then those of us that said,
I agree.
What is important in life? Mm-hmm. I have food. I have what I need. I have a roof over my head. My people are okay.
Yeah.
You just started to just make the smallest list of things you were grateful for.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely, you're right. I mean, you see it go both ways. I mean, obviously not everything is going to improve people's lives. And, like we have our choices, and some of us go down some dark paths and other ones make the best that we can out of it. But all right, guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about Lisa's podcasts. She's got 2. And of course, her new book. So
my first book for the audio version, I hated it.
Really?
You realize, okay, first of all, right when I finished my first book, I put myself on a reading challenge. I read a book a week for a year.
Oh, wow.
The more you read, the better you write.
Yeah.
So now I start reading.
Yes, you do. There's another technique called copywriting. So you basically look at a text that you really like, and it's a funny face she's making. See, I can make fun of her too. Let's say you like this passage by a writer. If you just keep copying that writer, like actually just copying it on a piece of paper, like word for word, you eventually start writing like the author and with the same, not the exact same nuance, but you'll understand the cadence of their speech and you become a better writer. I haven't tried that in a long time, but I've done similar work in the past and it's been very helpful. And I do think, reading definitely helps you be a better writer, but I think writing on its own is like the best thing you can possibly do. I actually write more than I read now.
After I wrote my first book, and first of all, my first book was like this thick. Now it's like this thick. People want to be satisfied. They want to read it in 1 or 2 sittings. They want you to tell compact little stories. Mm-hmm. So I felt so excited to write this one because I knew I could say more things while still saying less.
Yeah.
And
minimalist writing.
Mark Twain has a really interesting quote here. Speaking of writing, I love writing, so I always think about how I express myself on on paper, on video, if I'm writing something. But Mark Twain said, uh, I write you a shorter letter if I had more time, or something along those lines. It's like, if I had more time, I'd write a shorter letter.
And it was cathartic because I told some truths that I did not tell in my first book. You know, I talked about my sexual abuse as a child, which is something that I
Oh
did.
shit! I did not know she had that. Oh, that's brutal. Oh my goodness. Can you live with that, people, knowing that, like, a lot of these people, you forget that when you objectify. You see, everyone has these stories. She was potentially dealing with her traumas, and it came out in porn. You're potentially validating porn stars' abuse and what they went through. It's very complicated, so I don't want to make it sound simplistic, but look, she was sexually abused as a child. And you want to objectify her more? You're not any better than a pedophile at this point. So this is why you have to humanize these sort of porn stars and try to build a better relationship in your head with them.
Write about in my first book. And at that time, I still had a relationship with my family, and I was still trying to make peace with it. And at the same time, I wanted them to sit down and have a conversation with me about it. And at that time, there was someone in the industry that had put a tweet out that said, "We all know you've been molested by your brother multiple times. You don't have to take it out in the world." And that tweet came out after my book was released, my first book. And so now I had this huge.
Fuck, man. Just the thought of that happening. This is why it's important to teach men to control their sexual urges. It's another case, another example right here. I did not know that about her at all. I'm really sorry she went through that. It's fucking brutal.
Huge question in my mind of like, well, now the world knows. And I protected the world from knowing because I wasn't ready. Yeah. And I also, my brother's children were younger then, and I wanted to protect them and them in school. And now they're older and out of school. And so this book, I decided, you know what, I need to share with the world what my experiences truly were. And that was hard. Yeah. It was hard to share, and it was also hard to share. I was a better journaler, but it was hard to share the last interaction I had with my family. The last interaction was in 2015. And of course, they were appalled over that tweet going out. And they were trying at that time to push me away, but I didn't want to accept it. I really wanted to force a relationship with my family. And I went home and I asked my mom if we could all sit down and we could talk about it. And it pushed my family away. And I was going to stay for another 2 days. My mom was like, "I think you should take the bus back to the city early."
Hold on. This is really fucked up. She's molested by her brother, becomes a porn star. But her coming out about her brother pushed her away from her family. That's some fucking bullshit. That's not even fit. That's. I don't know how to, like. That's so much to take on emotionally. I can't even understand how she processed that. Like, to get rejected like that from your own family over something that hurt you, yet porn is fine. Like, what the fuck is wrong with people?
And I knew when she said goodbye to me at that bus stop that it was going to be the last time I saw her, because she had not been a part of my life from 12 years old to 24 years old. So I knew that she could do that to me again.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And
oh, fuck.
That was a dark time for me. And believe it or not, it felt great to put that on paper and to share with somebody that.
Yeah, this is why I do my YouTube channel the way I do it, because it's processing some of that pain. And I hope it could be a voice for porn addiction and what it does to men. Like a real authentic narrative voice, not like these fucking like assholes on like semen retention. It's like no. Just like we're all human, and I hope this video kind of demonstrates that there's a lot of nuance to the human experience that has to be taken apart. That you can't be spoken to. We have to speak with each other to extract out.
My my life is not what you may have thought you saw all the time. I post great moments on Instagram. I post the good things that I'm going through. We all have something inside us that we're not happy about, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you can't go on. I didn't get destructive. At that time, I had Chris Streams come to my house in LA and take my bar, because I had this bar set up with alcohol on it, and I knew my life was too dark to drink alcohol. I just knew that would make me more depressed.
Good for her on the self-awareness. That would have taken her on a really dark path. Ooh, good save, Lisa. Good save.
Right.
So I didn't drink for 2 years, not one drop of alcohol.
Good for her. I have to clap. I love people who don't drink. I had my first glass of whiskey on Wednesday after like a long time of not drinking alcohol. I can't remember when, but I don't get it. I don't get alcohol. It's a weird drug. It's not good. I mean, have it once in a while, fine. You do you, but I do think it shows the cracks and the dark side of humanity. Alcohol definitely does. My uncle was alcoholic, and so I'm always careful of it. And I've seen a lot of bullshit with alcohol and how it's hurt people, and it's definitely way more destructive than any other substance on the planet. I think, anyway.
I just told myself this. I looked at it. I was sitting on my couch one day and I looked at the bar and I'm like, that's going to be the death of you if you keep that thing here, because you're going to just start drinking and never stop.
Okay, so really important point here. She was able to put a marker in her head about what that represented. If you have trouble with that, just put a sticky note that says, like, if you do this, you will turn into a devil. I don't know. Like, whatever helps motivate you to not do it. Sticky notes do serve as reminders. I recommend changing them every week, though, so you don't get desensitized to it. You definitely want to be it, because you cannot eventually see it, and you'll just end up succumbing to the temptation.
And he came and picked it up. It fit perfectly in the backdrop of his photos. Like, I had this whole visual, like, he's got a bare spot when you shoot in the living room. This bar will look perfect. And he'll pick it up for free, and he'll also take the glasses, the liquor, and all his friends were drinking. And so sharing that I went through that and being able to relate to people who may have seen my life one way was really important to me. It was cathartic. It was painful. It was hardest when I knew it was being printed, because I was like, okay, now these words are printed. Like, now this is permanent. But you know what? It was permanent in my life.
Yeah, I like books because books are a permanent portal to someone's conscious state at a certain moment in history. Their books are incredible. They're portals of consciousness, more than video and audio. I think books are really special in that respect.
And never sharing it with anyone was so heavy. And I didn't realize it until I started to come clean with my friends. You know, I never told my ex-husband. I never told my best friends. I never told anybody in my life because I didn't want to be broken.
Oh God, yeah, living with that for a long time is not fun. Yeah, that's not. Wow, it just shows you the resilience of women. Women are strong motherfuckers. No way, that's a weird thing to say. Sorry, I am on acid. But like, man, good for her. Like, that's tough to hold out in your heart, like, for a long time on your own. It's definitely given her the strength and tenacity that she spoke about earlier.
Yeah.
And when I finally sat down with my friends and they said, well, you know, we assumed that there was some trauma in your life that you hadn't yet dealt with. No one's going to pry it out of you. The first person that knew was a doctor. Went to see a therapist about it. And then when I was 30 years old, I had the courage to tell my mom. And she just brushed it off. And she said, you know, that was a long time ago and you're fine. So, and I was like, I'm fine. Like, I landed in porn, obviously, because I didn't value my body and my sexual experience. Because it had been taken from me. I felt like everybody else should have it too. So there is a reason. And
Oh, interesting. That's a really interesting narrative she picked there. It was taken away from her, so she feels that it should be given. I have to think about that one, but you can tell. Yeah, I mean, these actions do manifest in other behaviors, and I mean, I think the most important thing for her is that she's lost trust in people from an early age. So that's why her new friends are so valued, because it's chosen trust. It's not expected trust, which is what happens with family.
I felt that she could have had a better talk with me about it. So really putting that on paper allowed me to accept it. And since then, I've been adopted by a new family that loves me more than my family ever has.
Oh, that's
And by
nice.
being truthful with them, they were able to say, well, you're like our daughter now, and you're welcome here anytime you want, holidays and birthdays. And it was just letting go of it. And the longer I would carry it, the more miserable I would secretly be. And not sharing our darkness with other people isn't healthy.
Yeah.
And so
I
sharing
agree.
that was
I
important.
agree.
I've gotten so many responses from followers that have said, you make me want to be a better parent. You make me want to look out for my daughter more. You make me want to look out for my younger sister more. The responses I'm getting from men about me telling my truth has been fascinating.
Yeah.
Really fascinating about how it impacts them. Of course, women are going to be open arms about it because it's relatable. Sexual abuse is real in this country. It's real everywhere.
Well, I mean, almost every woman has
had
experienced some form of it.
Yeah, that's something that I had a hard time accepting, that most women that I know have dealt with it, whether they told me or not, like my friends. Sometimes I wonder, how much did I do that? And I definitely felt I contributed to the problem. Not, I never, like, I think what porn made me do is maybe overly eager for the prospect of sex. So I would like constantly text them, and like it was, I never made advances in person in the way I would make advances over text. And that's all gone now. I'm a much more realistic person, and I value myself differently in that respect. But yeah, that's like it's only until maybe the last 2 or 3 years I've realized that, wow, women deal with a lot of bullshit from men, and it's mostly men who can't control themselves. So, and again, I'm not excluding myself from that group. There are times where I still feel, the temptation, if you will, but I'm at least aware of it, and I can at least navigate it in a more productive way.
Right. So this was a different book. And then once I got over that, halfway through the book, it gets into my new discoveries. Like, now that you're stripped down to nothing, why don't you get rid of your shit? Why don't you pursue minimalism? Like, why don't you change and just take on this light approach to life? And I've been loving it. Like, it was just letting go. And here I was carrying something that made me more short-tempered with people. It was everything negative that surrounded me, and I never knew it until I let it out there.
Wow, that's amazing. So do you think that so you said that you said that you got into porn because of this experience, because you didn't value your body. Do you feel like you wouldn't have done it if that hadn't happened? And do you regret?
I don't regret it at all. And the pandemic made me so thankful. I would text my friends all the time, my single friends, like, I'm just loading up my OnlyFans and thinking about all the great fucking sex I had while we're all quarantined in our own spaces with no new relationship. Like, it made me so grateful because there was this block of time where there wasn't a lot of sex. You weren't going out and meeting new people all the time. And I'm so glad I did it because I went in broken, and the business is what made me whole. The business gave me.
Huh, interesting. That's a really interesting narrative. I don't want to judge her too much on this, but she was broken. The industry made her whole. Sometimes that does that, right? Sometimes, like, I know when I worked in various industries, I was broken, but when I went in, and the industry itself was broken, but then it did fix me as well, because it made me realize like what parts of me were not working, or what were working, and you're able to kind of diagnose yourself and fix your story up a little better. So it's cool she did that. That's actually really interesting. And again, I do not want to control anything what a woman does with her body. Like I said in my past video with Matt Walsh's reaction, like, I'm a bit of a free market capitalist, so like, let people make money however they like, but it's up to us to not watch it. I don't think we should infringe on people's rights to make money in what should, we shouldn't infringe on the rights of women to make money on how they see fit. It's we're scared of it because we're afraid of ourselves falling for it. But if you're smart enough, you won't watch it. Like I've never paid for porn. I don't know why people pay for OnlyFans. It doesn't make any sense to me. But anyways.
Me financial security that allowed me to have confidence and make choices and become a business and take myself seriously. The business gave me the ability to travel and see the world, like going to Australia for Fleshlight. Not everybody gets to go to Australia on somebody else's dime. Going to shoot in Hungary and going to all these places I've been, none of that would have happened. Maybe I would have stayed in Easton, Pennsylvania and married a high school sweetheart, had a bunch of kids, and they'd be adults now, and I'd be trying to save for my retirement and still trying to be like, where's that one trip I'm going to take when I retire? Like, I've seen so much. So, and I think the business, I think for me, entering was because I remember being young and having friends in high school say to me, how can you take off your clothes in front of people? And I'm like, it just doesn't mean that much to me. Like, my body just doesn't mean that much to me. Like, showing it to people doesn't mean that much to me. It wasn't until I saw a therapist that she had said to me, well, of course, something that was taken from you, you don't have the same value of it as if you had shared it on your own choice for your first experiences. So it diminished the value. So it
Yeah, I definitely can agree with that when it comes to sex and pornography. When I eventually had sex, um, it wasn't good. Like it was sucked. Um, or I should say, sorry. Let me. I didn't appreciate what sex was until I got off the porn. I'm like, whoa, this is what it's really about. That's what I meant to say. Sorry, it's my thoughts are getting a little jumbled right now. But yeah, like when something like porn took away the real meaning of sex for me. So when I fixed it in my head a little bit, at least enough where I can feel comfortable again, it became just a magical experience. So I know what she means by this. That's cool. She went through that as well.
made it easy for you to go out and share it with everybody else. To me, it's more intimate to have somebody that I'd have to my house to watch like a marathon of Chopped. Like to me, that's like next level.
She's a Taurus. Taurus is like that. Interesting. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm a big astrology guy. So I'm more for the psychology because Carl Jung had a lot to say about it, and I think if Carl Jung had a lot to say about astrology, we should pay attention. So she's definitely a Taurus. She's a homebody.
Level super private, but walking naked into a grocery store would not faze me at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And luckily I was good at it.
Yeah.
Like I enjoyed the whole set design. Like, ooh, what are we shooting? Oh, an office set. Oh, let me get some cute clothes. I loved the whole preparation for being a porn star. I loved traveling on the road and socializing and going into all these weird small towns. And
So this is cool. At least she's accepted what she's done, and she's actually has no regrets and she's enjoyed it. Like again, she was in the top. She was the top porn star of like all time. One can argue. So she is the Michael Jordan of porn stars. I would say. So she definitely has a different perspective on this, and she's been given a lot of privilege and and stuff. And she did work for it. So again, I'm not saying that she doesn't deserve the success, but at least she's accepted it. She has no regrets about it. And I think that's important. So same with me in porn. I'm gonna kind of go in parallel here. I watched a lot of shit. Nothing crazy, but I watched a lot of porn. And it took me a long time to not be mad at myself for it and don't regret it. I had some fun. Let's be honest, man. We had some fun. There are some fun moments with it, and that's totally fine. And yes, sometimes my videos are a little depressing and like dark and whatever, but sometimes those moments are like, there are a few moments I remember when I was like definitely, fapping to porn more often. I'm like, fuck, had I not done that, it wouldn't have went the other way or like whatever. So think of those stories, accept that part of yourself, laugh at yourself for it, and enjoy those moments, because when you're gonna look back on when you're old, you're gonna be like, you know what? I'm glad that all happened in this cool way.
going into these different strip clubs and having to adapt. If you can adapt at a different club every weekend, it makes you a great business person, because then you can adapt in any work setting. You kind of like, okay, this person's this person, this person's this, you get to know how to read people. And I tell all the girls in the industry now, if you can do something in front of people naked, you could do anything you want for the rest of your life.
I kind of agree with that philosophy. Now, I think you should do it as a metaphor, um, where if you feel metaphorically naked about something yourself and you're doing it, it might actually be where your treasure lies, and you might be successful at it. For example, me talking about porn addiction is my nakedness that I'm kind of talking about, especially on acid. Once again, I'm naked again. This is something I would never have done in the past, but it is what it is. You can literally do anything you want. She's 100% right. And I think it took me quitting porn to understand that lesson. So thank you again, Lisa. This is cool. I actually hope you watch this. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. Lisa, if you're hearing this, please contact me. Let's get coffee and like talk life. I think that would be a hilarious situation. As a friend, nothing more. It'd be really cool. But let's. It'd be funny if that happened, and I think it could. So let's laugh about it.
Yeah, that's so true. And it's interesting too because porn's like one of those careers where it makes you a small business like
Yeah.
on its own. Like that I was talking to somebody the other day about this actually on Twitter about taxes and like how many girls like models don't pay their taxes, but also like we have no financial education in this country. It's terrible. Like in high school, like why are we not teaching people like senior year of high school about how to balance your checkbook, about how to open an IRA,
right.
about how to pay your taxes?
Interest, how interest can pay off or how interest can hurt you.
We don't teach people that. It's insane. So when you get into the adult industry, just because of the nature of the way that it is, you know, you're your own.
Yeah, you know what? Kudos to all the porn stars. They have to learn business, and they learn a lot of stuff. I'm sure at least the smart ones do. Lisa definitely sounds like a smart one, so that's really cool. I really value learning. Learning is the most important thing we can all do. So yeah, experience teaches. Like this is why I would never do an MBA. Like you just go out, just be a porn star. No, I'm totally kidding. No, but the idea of getting experience to build a business, to learn business, that's how you learn business. You don't go to school for it. You know, life itself is the school of business.
You know, small business, like you are kind of forced to learn all of these things.
And you're forced to learn in a group that may not be so organized. Like you might have not gotten a 1099, but they filed it. They just didn't mail it to you. And then the IRS hits you up 3 years later, like you now owe $4,000 on this, like would have been $300, but they never mailed it to you. You're also dealing in a chaotic situation with some of the people that pay you.
Yeah, because they're not necessarily
The
organized
most organized.
either. Yeah, totally. Which absolutely reminds me, Ernie, I have your 1099 downstairs. Don't let me forget to give it to you.
Shout out to Ernie over here. We're getting you your 1099. Don't worry, we got you,
I know,
boo.
you just moved and didn't change the address, but it's fine.
Boo.
Um,
Return to sender.
But yeah, so there's just it's just interesting how it like kind of forces you to learn about business. And I was just saying like I wish there was some kind of resource for girls to, you know, learn about taxes.
See, now that's something I'd be into.
Yeah.
I'd be in.
I think all you have to do is just go on YouTube and search. YouTube has everything. So it just shows you, like, from a demographics perspective, that YouTube is mostly men. And I would think they would know that, but honestly, what they're talking about, all the knowledge is on YouTube. So I think Lisa Ann could probably just aggregate into a single website or something. Here's the best videos that are already out there that explain business and this is how you navigate the porn industry and whatever.
Into financial wellness conversations, just about the basics, things that I learned a little bit through. Like my account would have me photocopy every single check I got, whether it was at a strip club or a shoot. And then I'd bring him in the 3-ring binder at the end of the year. And he did that for people who didn't mail me my 1099.
Oh, amazing. Man, she's it's important to stay. I think the most important skill, the most important thing you should probably pay for as well as an accountant or staying organized as much as you can as an entrepreneur. That's something that I'm struggling with right now. But it's harder than I thought it would be. So kudos to her for actually like keeping tabs. Like good for her.
minds because we got hit so many times by somebody not filing something and it coming back to me and me getting being served scary paperwork. And that little tip was so helpful because then all the checks were there and he'd be able to look through. There was no money unaccounted for. But I would love to do that because everybody needs to learn, and it's not their fault. You're making money and spending money so fast between hair, nails, wardrobe. There's a ton of receipts to keep track of. What can you write off? What can't you write off? That would be, it's a huge need. State of Florida.
You know what Lisa Ann should do? Just, I'm not trying to like, promote porn here, but like if she had a receipt tracking app for sex workers and anonymously like take photos of all your receipts into one bucket and it's encrypted, it just it'd be a lot easier that way. And it has to be anonymous and encrypted service. So yeah, I think what Lisa Ann should do from a software, so I work in software development, so I know a thing or two about this. And I think what Lisa should do is create a revenue cycle management platform for sex workers across the board. I think that would be an incredible thing she would develop. But anyways.
DeSantis is trying to pass a law where high school will have to pass a financial wellness class to graduate.
I think of all the things that we need to learn in school, that in sex education, like we need to learn that. Like we don't need to learn about, fucking marine biology.
Had I known that at 16 when the Gap sent me a $300 credit card, because I had been working since 13. My dad got me working papers at 13, had a job. Summer, it was a full-time job. I was a hostess. I was starting to get credit cards already because I had credit. I went and spent that $300 day one and then just paid the interest for like the next 3 years. So I started stripping and realized I shouldn't carry all this debt. Then once I used that one, I got another one. Next thing you know, I got like 18 credit
Oh, wow. Good for her. Wait, hold on. Maybe I spoke too soon.
cards, and I'm only 18 years old.
Yeah.
They're all only $300, but they're all maxed out.
That's a lot of debt. I'm glad she learned her lesson really early, and it seemed like she did really well for herself.
At all times, because I thought it was free money, Holly. I was a teenager. I'm like, oh my God, everybody wants me to, oh my God, sure, I like the Gap. It's the only place I can spend it. I will find $300 a shit. Day one, I will find.
I'm going to be honest about something here. I grew up in a bubble, so this mindset seems very strange to me. But when I went to university and met people like this for the first time, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. Because I grew up with like the opposite mindset where this is real, like this is your responsibility, and so I'm kind of scared of it. And she had the opposite, and yeah, I just find it really interesting.
But we shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, financial wellness is a big issue.
Definitely. Before we move on, I just want to touch back about your relationship with your family, because I think that's super important and incredibly brave of you to come out about, because I know that's really hard for a lot of people to talk about. So do you not have a relationship with your family anymore? And
I do not.
How do you manage that now? Like, are you okay with that?
I found peace with it. And I found peace with the understanding that for too many years, I carried the blame for getting into porn as the reason why my parents treated me horribly. My dad didn't speak to me from the time I was 16 years old till I was 40, and he had a stroke, and I came home. My neighbor had called me and said,
oh wow, so she's not been in contact with her family for long. I did not know that. I actually thought that they accepted her ways. I know some families are kind of okay with it, but wow, she's had a pretty tough go on the family front, and I can see why she values relationships so much now.
Said your dad had a stroke, and he was fine, but I came home. We connected for a couple of years. It was very awkward. It was weird. So when I wrote about this, when I walked into my dad's house, it was like I had died. He had every photo ever taken of me, like on this one wall, like a weird shrine. And then when you go to my mom's house, she wants to act like I'm dead because she doesn't want to associate with me because I'm a porn star. So there's no photos of me in her house.
Oh man, that's brutal. In some ways, her parents also objectified her to sever the relationship. That's brutal. She's been objectified her entire life for like most of her life. That's terrible.
So it was like this weird, And the way that alone played on my emotions was heavy. And again, you don't realize it till it's not there. But I've made peace with the fact that they can never understand me. You know, it's a small town mindset. They're stuck on stupid with the fact that I'm a horrible person because I did porn. And anytime I wanted to address my abuse as a child, my mom would bring this up. And so what I've realized is after the first year, I felt healthier because I wasn't on a roller coaster ride. I wasn't on the, I'll give you an example. My grandfather died. And one of the reasons I got my apartment in New York City was because my grandfather and Peggy, who you've heard about, the most important person in my life, they were both in nursing homes. And I could take the bus from New York to Easton and be right outside either their.
She was a caregiver. She was caregiving for loved ones, or at least loved ones in her life. She has a lot of heart. She's just an incredible. Like, again, I didn't know any of this prior to this podcast episode. I just thought she's just this famous porn star and X, Y, and Z, but now the layers are coming off, and I'm just like, wow, she's almost like a hero to me now. Holy moly!
Nursing homes and then get a ride to the other one. And for the last 3 years they were alive, I visited them a couple weekends a month. I would go either for the day or for the weekend, stay with my mom. And when my grandfather died, I had just been there like 3 days before. She lied to me by a week so that I didn't go to the funeral because they don't want to be seen accepting me because I'm in the industry.
That's fucked up. Fuck you to all the family members. Don't ever do that. You should grieve together. Fuck, man. Fuck. This story's starting to kill me now. Lisa, I'm sorry you went through all this. This is bullshit. I'm so sorry.
At that time. And so they lied to me. And then I was appalled. And what was crazy was the last visit I had with my grandfather, who had severe dementia. You know, when you're dealing with somebody with Alzheimer's or dementia, know this, they don't remember today. But if you bring in things from their past, they can tell you elaborate stories. And he was a World War II photographer. And I found boxes of his photos when I was helping my mom clean out their home to sell it because they were both in the nursing home. And I started taking in his war photos. And he would give me these stories. Like, he would grab a photo. He's like, oh, that was 1943. We were in Germany. You see this guy right here. He'd tell me these great stories. And then one day, the last time I saw him, I had a shoebox of photos. And he looked at me. He goes, keep these because I think they're going to write you out of my will. And that was like our last conversation. And then she lied to me about having a service. And then I found out through a friend from home, like, hey, why didn't you go to your grandfather's funeral? And then I called my mom and she's like, well, we really didn't want to be seen with you. And we don't want to be seen that we accept you. You know, it's okay that you're here sometimes. Like, she wouldn't eat out at a restaurant with me. She wouldn't let me go into the store with her. My life with them.
Her family canceled her. I think that's way worse than social media canceling. That's fucking brutal. I am sorry you went through that, Lisa.
Was at her house or at my dad's house. It wasn't in a public. So that's heavy. And so after a year of not feeling that, I felt more comfortable in my skin. I felt more confident about myself. I was around more people that had positive interactions with me than constantly reminding me of these horrible choices that I made. And that last visit home, I was kind of done. And that was why I decided to have this, like, come to Jesus. Like, listen, I called it Russian roulette in my book. I said, I want to sit down and have a conversation. And I called the person who abused me and had him on the phone. And I said, everybody needs to get together. I just want to sit down. I just want you to know how this affected my life. I've already forgiven you. It's already been years. But you have to have a face-to-face with me, understand what this did to me. And that was it. My whole family got together and said, we're never talking to her again.
Fuck. No. Ah. Yeah, that's. I'm really sorry about that, Lisa. I wish people were a little more patient. I think you can heal any emotional wound, but you got to be patient. I'm sorry you went through that. It's fucking brutal.
And they have not, during the pandemic, didn't reach out. Don't know if they know where I live. But I've reconnected with all of my friends from my hometown. And during the pandemic, I would rent a car and drive home and see my friends from Easton.
You, just the way she's talking about her friends and her family, she lights up. You can tell her friends mean so much to her. Um, Kudos again, Lisa. I keep saying that, but I'm on acid. Kudos again for um, humanizing, or not humanizing, so I should say, for valuing such simplicity. You can see how much joy that brings you.
Because it was supposed to be our 30-year high school reunion and we didn't get to have it. But I'm at peace with it because I feel better about myself, not trying to prove myself to a family that doesn't accept me and will never accept me. And also, I remind them of bad things. I remind them that they failed me. I remind them that I've gone out on my own and been successful without their help. I think my parents would have much rather me be a girl in the business who became addicted to drugs and was living under a bridge somewhere. They don't want me to be successful.
Yeah.
When I was on Sirius, every time there was a free membership, I would email both my parents, hey, there's free, you can listen to my radio shows. Every time I'd go home, have you listened to my show? Oh no, we haven't. I realized, like, you're more embarrassed of my past than you'll ever be proud of my future.
Ooh, you're more embarrassed of my past than. Let me go back again.
It's like, you're more embarrassed of my past than you'll ever be proud of my future.
More embarrassed of my past than you'll be proud of my future. Yeah, that's. No parent should think that way. No parent should think that way.
And so you're never going to support my new way of life. You're never going to support me.
Yeah.
So I feel ultimately better. It's sad. My friend who you met today.
I do apologize. I
says
am
still
chewing
put hope in
gum
my hope
to
bucket
keep
that your mom
me
reaches
sane.
out, 'cause it breaks my heart that a mom doesn't talk to her daughter. I'm like, but
So
your
if you hear
mom
noise,
loves me
I'm really sorry.
and treats me better than my mom ever treated me. So why would I want to go back to that?
Do you think that we as a society put like too much emphasis on family?
I do.
You
Because
know?
if it doesn't work, don't force it.
That's the thing,
Find
is-
your friends that love you and be a.
Okay, so I have two stances. I agree with her in that I think your family, if you don't have one, your friends will pick you up. There's this saying, I forgot who said this quote. One friend is worth like 1,000 family members because there's not that entitlement. However, if you have a really good family, it's worth more than any friendship. That's for sure. So it's both can be true.
Around them.
Yeah, because we always talk about family. Family is so important. Love your family. All these movies about reconnecting with your family, and I don't know. It's hard for me to imagine because from my perspective, as you know, like my family, we're all really close, and I'm super fortunate in that way.
Yeah, you are.
So I can't imagine like being disconnected from them. But coming from somebody who struggles with their relationship with their family, like, is that a healthy narrative for us to push to be like, no, you have to heal. You have to like make your relationship with your family work if like it's just not there.
If it's toxic, if it brings back old memories that are painful, if there was abuse that you can't get past, and if it's meant to be, let the dust settle. But
I'll be honest with you. I actually think you can push yourself to accepting a narrative about your situation. Like for the longest time, I was so angry at my father for all kinds of stuff. Then you realize that he was trying, and he did the best he could. And him and I are friends. Like him and I are more like peers now. And he's a great friend. And I hope to cultivate his friendship even more. And there's this saying that I really try to remember. The greatest honor in life is turning an enemy into a friend. It's a hard honor to achieve. Few do. But that's what I aim for. And you can tell she's tried to do that. Okay, so please do not say that she didn't try. She tried her very best. But sometimes you gotta walk away. And that's how you win.
But don't force it. And in sports radio, I would always ask people around the holidays to stop saying on air, enjoy the holidays with your family. I would always ask them to say your loved ones. So I would like text to producers, like, can you remind so-and-so not to say this? Because there's a lot of people that don't have a great family.
And that's why people get incredibly
Depressed during the holidays.
Yeah.
So to make every card say family or everything say family, just say loved ones. We could choose where that love goes. Is it going to your family or is it going to your chosen family?
I agree with that, Lisa.
It's okay to be estranged estranged from your family if it's not a healthy relationship.
Yeah,
And
I agree with that.
I'm healthier mentally in so many ways now that I'm not forcing that relationship to happen anymore. And I just wanted it so badly. And looking back now, it had to go through the cycles that it went through, because once Peggy passed away and once my grandfather passed away, going home was dark. I had nobody that I was excited to see. I knew my mom was going to make me feel like shit. I knew my dad was going to be like sitting like across the table from a distant stranger who was going to like tell me who died, tell me who was sick, tell me the gossip in our family, and never ask about me, never want to know.
One thought here, she's from a small town, so I think what it was demonstrating from a systems perspective is that imagine if your family was always open-minded as best they can, learning, doing new things, and like just really challenging themselves personally. Like I'm always learning new things all the time. So is my dad. My dad's always reading, and we all have stuff to talk about. You, you can tell that if one doesn't even want to learn or listen to someone else, everything just falls apart. And I think that's like what she's kind of demonstrating here. So it just shows you, if you really want to have a great relationship with people, keep learning and teaching people what you're learning, because people want to listen to you, is what I've kind of come to accept.
My dad never visited me anywhere I ever lived, never knew where I lived. And that's just like, that's a one-way relationship. I'm coming to you, but as a father, you don't want to see where your daughters lived. I remember before I got married, he and I weren't talking. And my mom insisted that he meet my husband before I get married. And we pulled up out front of his house. He was cutting the lawn. And we walked up, and he shook Mike's hand, and he didn't look at me once. And he introduced himself. They talked. My mom did her thing. He acted like I wasn't even present. We got back in the car, and my husband, of course, was like shocked. He was like,
that hurts.
"Oh my God," he acted like you didn't even exist. And I'm like, I don't exist to him. So that was a very common thread through my life. And I continued, Holly, continued. It was like the one thing I couldn't check off my list. It was like the one obsession I had that I couldn't correct, the one thing I couldn't do better.
Yeah.
The one thing, that one thing, and letting it go has been really healthy for me.
Yeah, on this point, and you can tell that was a pretty big burden for her. But everyone, like, I think what my overcoming porn addiction has taught me was there are a few things I have to let go going forward. So one of the things I've let go of is that I will probably won't be able to party like I wanted to in university. I accepted that because the porn addiction made me a little more of an introvert, and I would, step away from parties to like FAP and all that kind of stuff. And there's a part of me that wants to party again, just to kind of have some fun. But I accept that I can't. I'm too old for that. I'm in my 30s, and that time is gone, and that's okay. It's time to move on. So that's a very trivial example compared to Lisa Ann's situation, but it's the same muscle of letting something go that you thought was important, and you can mentally free yourself to a higher stratosphere to level up. And you can tell that emotional burden has freed her to think more creatively. She's an entrepreneur now. She's open about her experiences. So again, Lisa has done the work.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's part of who I am.
Yeah.
And if my story helps other people understand that that doesn't define me, their lack of understanding or our lack of love, it doesn't mean I can't get love elsewhere.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I'm not deserving or worthy of love.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that I shouldn't share myself with other people. It just means that's not going to work.
Right. And I think that that's a message that so many people will resonate with so many people. I mean, I know so many people in the adult industry who are estranged from their family and have volatile relationships with their family, and them being in the adult industry has just made it worse. And that constant trying to prove themselves, trying to repair that. Maybe
I actually asked myself a question, and I don't have the answer to it. But if I found out my daughter was a porn star, I'm going to be really honest, I don't think I would react well to it. because I know what it does to the brain and to other men, and it makes her life harder and stuff. And this is where I'm a bit of a hypocrite, because while I say women can do whatever they want, when it's in my backyard, that's a different story. And I know that, like, I'm very honest about that. So I don't want to make it seem like that I'm innocent from all this. No. There's a lot of things I say, but when it hits you, you're like, I don't know anymore. And that's something I want to recognize, that like this is something that I've not figured out. Maybe, who knows? Maybe Lisa and I become friends, and this is a part of the conversations that we can talk about during our coffee, where, like, how do you humanize your daughter? That's a really, because like I think that was what maybe her father had a hard time with. I can't humanize her anymore. I can't see her as my daughter anymore. And the truth is, there is a way. There is a way to make it happen. And I'm gonna say something that might be controversial here, but her dad didn't put in the work, and you can tell. He didn't want to try. He didn't realize. I could be wrong. She's still my daughter, and that's something that I will have to think about. Like, I know I'll have a negative reaction to the porn, and eventually I can probably come to terms with it. Like, I'm just thinking through it. I'm trying to imagine myself like hearing. I'll probably get mad. I will probably ask her, well, how are you taking safeguards? What's the platforms? Like, I'll ask all the logistics questions, and um, I would accept her, but it's going to take some work. But there's a way to accept her. I know there's a way. So, like I said, it's sad that she didn't get that from her father and her mother.
Maybe all of that effort in the end isn't that worth it.
No, because you could have, all that time, I could have been with people that love me for me.
Yeah.
Like my friends I've been telling you about, the relationships that have become so
Yeah.
valuable to my life. I discounted them while trying to fix this. And really, they love me unconditionally.
Right.
They were there for me.
Side note, I love all my followers on this channel. You are awesome folks. And if you're hearing this however many hours in, I lost track of time because of the acid. I love all of you. I love you at the bottom of my heart. Thank you. And I know it's a tough journey, but I love you all.
But we all want the love of our parents.
Yeah.
That's just a natural, normal thing.
Yep, I agree.
But not everything works. And it's really something in the industry, because most parents, it's so great when I meet somebody like Joanna. I love that her parents are supportive of her, and it makes me so happy for her. Like, I meet a girl that tells me my parents are fine with what I do as long as I'm good with my money.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Like, yes, to your parents. Like, yes, I love them, and I'm so happy there's some of you out there.
There's a great, so Alina Lopez, you know her?
No.
She's amazing. So she comes from a Mormon family, and her family is still Mormon, and they fully support her. Her mom made her AVN dress for her. They go to the awards with her. Like,
love.
they are a very Mormon, very religious family.
Okay, so this is an interesting question. If my daughter becomes a porn star, but as a former porn addict who teaches men, especially, to not watch porn, would I still support her in her industry? Ooh, tough question. Tough question. I don't think I would make a dress for her. That's for sure. I don't think I would show up my face there. Yeah, I think that's tough. That's a tough situation, because I don't have the answer to that. I don't know how I'll navigate that. But she's still my daughter, and I won't let that change. So, anyways, long story short, it's I'll still defend her, but I think I would not support her maybe the way they're talking about here. I think I'd support her everywhere else except her career, in the sense of, like, she probably has a support network. That's for them. Everything else, I'm happy to help for life, philosophy, and other cool things.
And they embrace and love Alina.
Good for her.
And like, that to me is so powerful, because so often you hear about these religious families that reject their child who's an adult, and like, Alina's just a wonderful example of like, that's not always the case.
It's not always the case.
Yeah.
It's so great for her, and it's so great for her parents too,
Yeah.
because it's important. But
One thing I will say, if I do accept the notion that everything happens for a reason with some determinism, maybe sometimes porn stars are supposed to go through it for a big reason, for their families or for themselves or something. So if let's say my daughter does go through that, maybe it's telling me something about me, maybe it's telling something about her, that she has to go through that to become the person that she really wants to be. I know how the universe works that way. I'm tripping on acid right now. Because yeah, that's basically how it works. You have to go through certain experiences, and maybe porn is the experience for my hypothetical daughter, and she ends up becoming like a Nobel Peace Prize winner. Who knows?
for people out there who don't have that, instead of trying to fix something that's broken, sometimes it's just go with the safe bet. And go with those friendships that do love you. Go to those places. Like I'll say, your mom made me feel more comfortable in my skin in my young years in the industry than anyone, because she was a woman, because she was successful, because she wasn't like everybody else was in this whole gossipy thing. She never gossiped. She didn't give a fuck about what anybody else was doing. So being on her set was like actually working and doing really cool things. Whereas being on everybody else's set just made me feel so intertwined in the business, and who liked who and who didn't like who. It just wasn't her thing. But I saw her as a successful woman, and I was like, I can be a successful woman because of her. Like she is. She doesn't care what people think about her. She goes to the store. She's fine. She's saving her money. Look where she lives. Like, look what she's done. Like, that was a lot of hope for me.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that you can say about my mom is she definitely doesn't care what people think about her, and she's afraid of nobody.
Nobody. And I remember telling her how devastated I was that everybody didn't like me when I retired and how things blew up in my face. She's like, what do you want to do? She goes, there's nothing worse than hanging out with a bunch of pornographers. They're so boring.
That's fucking hilarious. Yeah, they actually are boring. They don't do anything. They just fuck all day. I'm way more interesting than these porno guys. Lisa, you can always talk to me anytime you want.
Away, like I'm pouring my heart out about how upset I am, and she just so put this like stamp on it, like it didn't matter. And right away I was like, it doesn't matter, because she said that. I was like, you know what, she's right. She'd been right my whole career before. Why am I pining on this? But she made it just like matter of fact, like please. Couldn't be bothered. But it was important for me to tell my truth. And then to share how I took control of my life. You know, going through all of my items helped me get rid of a lot of emotional attachment. There were things I was keeping because family gave them to me, or because of an experience I had. And when you touch everything, you really realize how you are connected to stuff. You can take a picture of it and save it, but does it really mean that much? Are you really keeping that ugly sweater because your mom bought it for you and your mom hates you, but you want her?
Yeah, I threw out a lot of stuff that were sentimental, and I actually burned some of it too. It's quite symbolic. I highly recommend that. If you have some things about your past self, burn it. Crucify it. That's right. No, wait, why did I say crucify? That doesn't make any sense. No, just burn it. Don't crucify yourself. That's weird. Don't do that. I am tripping out. Oh my god.
Her to love you. Like, are you really keeping it for that reason? Yes, you were. Like, I had so much shit I didn't need, but I was holding on to memories through it. That was complicated too. So going through and touching everything was this like spiritual experience of like, okay, I'm ridding myself of all of this energy.
Interesting. Was this like the Marie Kondo?
I did the Minimalists, and then I found Marie.
Okay.
At first, I watched the Minimalist documentary, then I read their books, and then I was addicted. I did the 30-day challenge.
Side note, I don't know why I'm working on this, okay? I hate those two minimalist guys. I'm a minimalist myself. Like I try to keep things simple, so I applaud what they're trying to do. But there's something about those two that just pissed me off, and I can't figure out why. I'm working on it. I'm a judgmental person. Whatever. Why am I even saying that?
Where you get rid of something every day, and day 2 it's 2 things, day 3 it's 3 things. Day I sold a ton of stuff. I sold stuff. I gave stuff away. I had friends come over, like, I'm taking pictures of things. Do you want this? It took me 2 years to minimize my life by 75%.
Wow.
But I did it carefully, like selling things, old magazines. I found photos. I found wardrobe. I would sit with all this wardrobe on my floor.
2 years? What? I don't know. I was able to get rid of a lot of my stuff within like a week. When you don't care, you just want to like burn shit. It's like the best feeling in the world.
And be like, I don't know where I wore this. Okay, white bikini Lisa Ann. Okay, Lisa Ann sex white bikini. And you find the pictures and I tear them off the internet and I'd be like, my sexy auctions, bang this bitch up there. I'm selling you. You know? I lived a porno garage sale for like 2 years. Okay?
As a free market capitalist, I support this.
I was making money out of my house, okay?
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, you know, that's another like wonderful bonus to being an
I
adult.
love entrepreneurship. I don't care what it is.
I sell my gym clothes now when they don't fit anymore, okay?
Yeah.
I'm not giving up on
But
this shit.
don't
okay?
wash them first.
Oh, no. Do
dare.
not watch them.
Do not wash them.
And if you only wore the socks once, they're not good enough.
No.
You need to wear them for at least a week.
No.
Wait, is this like this industry where you sell the? Oh, that's weird. I don't.
And if
That's
you don't
weird.
have time to wear the panties for a couple days, just shove them up your vagina real quick.
This is too much information.
Just like one after another.
But ridding myself of that heaviness allowed me to see life in a better. Didn't have this blur here of like,
Yeah.
oh, there's this thing blurring me.
Yeah.
Once that was out, now of course during the pandemic, there were times where it hit me. I was like, if these motherfuckers don't try to reach out to me, because I'm blocked from communicating with them in any way, shape, or form. I wrote my dad a letter, he never wrote back. Mom has me blocked from the email. I don't know where her phone number is because she had to change it because I gave it to one girl in the industry as an emergency contact. She decided to send scenes to it for like a week. So
Why
my
would you
mom
do
had to
that?
change it real
Oh my goodness, that didn't help. Fucking, what? Be careful who you share your family contact with. Lesson number 1 right here. Holy shit, I would never. That's terrible.
and I never got the new one. But when they didn't reach out, I just kept saying to my friends once a month, if they don't try to connect with me during this panoramic, then we're done. Like, this is it. Okay. If, look, if they reached out, I would probably never be able to say no because they're still my family. But I know who I am now.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't allow them to be negative to me or make me feel bad about who I am.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like to me what we call in, the 12-step program is you kept your side of the street clean. You did everything that you could do in your power to amend that relationship, and now it's on them. And there's nothing more that you can do because, as we all know, you can't change how people treat you. You can only change how you react to that.
Yep.
But I do have a will, and I am clear that they are not a part of it.
Oh, nice.
Because I know they would come
Well
after
done.
my money if I died.
God, so sad.
Yeah, because
That's
they're
why we do
assholes.
will.
Yeah, good stuff.
Also,
Good
I
job,
get
Lisa.
really into will planning. Yeah, it's a fun business. I would really like to get involved with this business. People do not take it seriously. You could do so much. You could have bottle service at a club. How do you want to spend the last bit of your money? You want to have a party? I'm getting my ashes made into diamonds, and all of my girlfriends are getting a piece for a necklace.
Oh, wow.
During the pandemic, I got in 3 months of me will planning, looking up all this stuff, all these different things you can do.
Wow,
You
that's
start writing
actually-
people letters, and you just give.
Just on a side note, I'm actually like attracted to her now for thinking that creatively. Like right now, she's just been my friend, and it's been great. I've not thought about fapping to her, and now I'm like, whoa, she's pretty smart and attractive. I can see why she was the #1 porn star. I think it showed even through her acting.
Them down to your business manager, and then when you die, all these people will get these letters. So I add on to these letters. There's just little things that I got into it.
Kind of morbid, but necessary.
Necessary.
Very necessary.
As a single woman with no kids and no husband, the state takes your shit.
Yeah.
Or your family comes for it.
Right.
So I wanted to make sure I had that clear, and I want my friends to be taken care of. And I set up a trust so my passive income, residuals, book, all those things will be donated to charity once I pass. So like 4 charities, Planned Parenthood, Blessings in a Backpack. So each month a donation will be made in my name. So I'll still be alive.
Oh, you'll be alive through your charitable works to other people.
Yeah.
God, that's amazing.
I got into it.
God, you really do have your
Huh.
shit together.
Interesting planning.
I'm old,
I'm
so
real-
I should have.
a
Listen,
little,
if I had my shit together by
because-
now, I'm fucked. We can swear on here, right?
Yeah.
Just ask now.
All right. Podcasts.
Yes.
Tell me. Okay, so you've got 2 podcasts. You've got Dudes Do Better, and you've got the Lisa Ann Experience.
Is the Lisa Ann Experience is a positive note. It's supposed to show me as a bit of a reporter who researches people and things and brings interesting guests to share. This week,
That would be an episode, a really interesting episode. Imagine if I came on God's Orphan coming on Lisa Ann's podcast. I'll be censored and everything. Like I'll have my voice, and we just talk about like porn addiction, the porn industry. That would be an awesome episode. Wouldn't you say? I think so.
And I don't know if you know this, but I have a news obsession. So I read at least 3 hours of news every day of my life, sometimes 4 and 5. World news, but I find
That's weird. Her Mars signs in Gemini, and so is her Venus. And Gemini is all about information gathering all over the place. That's trippy. I can see that. Like, interesting.
the greatest guest through news. I was reading an article on CNN, and don't judge me by the platform. I read all platforms, so Fox, CNN, all of them.
Good for her.
Not choosing myself.
Man, she's smart.
I read
What?
about a guy who got out of prison. He started an app. It's going to be the LinkedIn for ex-cons, because when he got out of prison, he realized why so many ex-cons go back.
That's a good point. One of the things I want to do in the future is actually teach convicts life again. Basic fundamentals, how do you navigate life, financial literacy. I think teaching the best students in the world, who I think are convicts, it will be such a privilege.
Because there's not enough resources.
Yeah.
So he's going to change what it looks like to be released from prison. Whereas 6 months before, the counselors will start meeting with them, let them know you get out of prison with $40. That's all they give you, and a folder. Here's where your probation officer is here, and you have to get a job.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to hire
a felon.
So this is where jobs can put job ads on, and then he also has housing from other ex-cons.
That's amazing. Oh my goodness, I'm going to write this down. This is a really good idea.
Who are willing to help out for a period of time, what have you. And then when you get out of jail, you register for Con Connect, and you're placed. And your counselor, it's going to make it easier for parole officers. So I read this article, and I was like, I got to meet this cat. Reached out to him on social media. Amazing. Andre Pert, he was my guest this week. So that's my place where I get to take my news reading to the next level and like be a little reporter and be like, oh, I want to meet this person. This is a great story, and I want to share it. And then Dudes Do Better is where I get to celebrate. The creepers are always going to creep, Holly. Every day there's a new masturbator born. I now know this. Even when you're not shooting, even when I'm 80, somebody's not going to know that I'm 80, and they're going to think that scene was today, and they're going to ask to have sex with me. It's just the law of nature. So I do creeper conversations now, where I engage with people on social that are super creepy, and then I read our conversation on the podcast.
Oh, that's weird. Oh, man. Am I one of those dudes now? Oh, fuck. What did I do?
And it's also a place where I get to interview talent that's in the industry today, retired talent. It's a place for me to stay connected with the industry and really meet people. So I'm getting to interview people I've never met before and some people that I've known for years. I just interviewed Sexy Vanessa.
Yeah, she's amazing.
I got to meet her in real life.
Yeah, no, she came here too.
Oh, she's like amazing, right? So full of life and so exactly what I thought she was going to be when I met her, just stylish, just over the top, but amazing. Yeah. And she's got a wild story. Her life story is like a whole mini series. Yeah. I'm begging. I can't believe that there hasn't been a movie made. I'm begging for her to let me ghostwrite her book, because I'd really love to start ghostwriting for people, because I love to write so much.
That's weird. I just started a ghostwriting business. The universe has winked at me once again. I'm also on acid, so I mentioned that, right?
If you could put me in a room alone and not to engage with other people all the time, I'd love that. I love going into a hole of writing and not coming out for like 3 days.
Yep, I totally get that.
So I love that I'm connecting back, because you first get out of the industry, no one knows how you feel about them. They feel like, oh, you think you're better than me. You're not in the business anymore. It's like, no, I just wanted to try something new. But I still love what I did. And I still want to meet you so that you have my number. So if you have a problem or you want...
I don't know, Lisa. I think you're allowed to say you're better than other people. I think you've earned it. I think you totally earned it.
Financial advice or connects for clubs that you can reach me. Yeah. I still want to be that person from a distance. And I think it's even better that I'm in New York, because people come to... Lainey has the girls come in for PR tours. I get custody on Saturdays. I take them to Central Park. We do a nice hour walk. We go to breakfast. We walk the city together, and I get to know them in a really personal way. Casual, no makeup on. They've already done all their interviews. And so Dudes Do Better's opened that for me, but people really like Dudes Do Better because guys like to laugh at guys that are foolish on social media. And women like to know that they're not alone and that they're not the only ones getting creeped on. Because it's not just porn stars. Any woman on the internet is going to get
Yep, I
I
agree
want
with
to be
that.
balls deep inside you every once in a while. It's just that dude. He's out there. He's waiting. All caps. He's coming. So I'm trying to point out to my listeners, hey, if you have a friend.
On that point, I actually looked at the messages of my friends. Was it Hinge or Tinder? I can't remember. Some messages were so bad. Like, dude, guys, what are you guys doing with your game on text? Just keep it simple. Make sure you FaceTime with them or do video calls instead of texting. Don't say, like, don't be stupid. Come on.
And you see them saying these things on social media, can you tell them to stop?
Do you ever ask them like why they feel that they have the license to say such things? Were they just not like what their mother didn't teach them any better? Do they believe that it's actually going to get them what they want? Is it sometimes a cultural thing? Like
it's a lot of both. The cultural thing is obvious. In cultures where they do not know how to communicate with women, where they've just recently got porn, that's a whole one thing.
Yeah.
Here, it's a little bit of both. A lot of guys will then say, oh, I was just joking and trying to get attention or trying to get, so they're needling at you. But I'm like, wow, that could be a trigger for somebody. That's no way to get attention from somebody. Some people want clout.
Yeah, I take the mindset of avert your gaze even on social media. So I don't text women at all randomly on social media. Like you shouldn't do that. Avert your gaze, everyone.
They want you to get mad. Like I clapped back at somebody last week just for creeper conversations. He now turned our thread into a t-shirt that he's selling. And I had a really cute photo with in this green cube. And it was a motivational quote, like I like to put out there. And he wrote, I can't believe there's not cum stains everywhere. And I wrote back, that's a you thing. Like, obviously nobody lets you cum on them. And I'm really sorry about that.
Oh, bird!
And he wrote back, and then we went back and forth. And now he's proud. So he's selling these t-shirts. So some people are just so sadly, however they can get attention will get attention. But a lot of the times I go to their timeline and I see their children in their banner.
Yes, I see.
And I think, like, what are you going to do when a guy talks to your daughter like this?
Yeah.
What are you going to do when your daughter sees that you talk to people like this on Twitter?
Oh,
like,
you.
They're forgetting that they're not just behind a keyboard. Listen, I just had Chris Hansen on my podcast.
See, you have to humanize people. This is why I'm doing this video on acid. Just no, but I don't. I was gonna do this video without acid. I just happened to be on. I'm like, I'll just do it right now because I thought it'd be pretty funny. Yeah, it's like these are real people behind the keyboards and camera, and I'm trying to build that connection in my head with this kind of reaction video, because then it impacts the way you see other people online, and then you realize, yeah, there's someone behind this scene there that you don't see. And we need to keep practicing that muscle. I think that's the best way to navigate this.
And I wanted to start showing up at people's doors that do these tweets, like find them through their VPN, then show up with like their family answers the door at dinner time with this like poster of all the tweets. Like, do you know that your husband says this to me on the internet? Just keep pulling.
Oh, that's a good idea.
It would be epic. But as that might be too much work, I might put a little time into Facebook, because from these people, you can find their Facebook and you can find their whole family. And I just want to send their whole family what they say on the internet. See how that plays out for them. Like, how does your mom feel that you say these things to women?
Yeah, I agree with that. I actually think, Lisa, this is what you should do. Just little entrepreneurial software SaaS two-sided network problem for you. You should create a bounty system where have other women do the things that you're talking about to exploit these other men. So maybe you go like, here's $100, women, like go make a t-shirt, confront these men or something. Some sort of Uber, like you need to Uberize your like ideas, because you have a lot of great ideas, but you need it's almost like, you need like a Lisa Ann Uber kind of platform, and get other people to do your ideas for you with a bounty or something. I think that's a great idea, because you can say, this guy says this, someone do something creative with this to confront them with their family. Great idea. Acid's amazing.
On the internet.
Yeah.
I'm just, but it's about time. When do I have the time? One day I'll do that.
Yeah, because it's like, people say that's one of the bad things about the internet is that, there's no accountability.
None.
You just can say whatever you want. You can hide behind a screen name and nobody's ever going to be able to like face to face be like, why would you say that?
Just for the record, Lisa Ann, if you ever hear this, I will definitely sit face to face with you as long as I'm anonymous, but I will tell you who I am as God's orphan. That's a promise. I just keep it private because I'm not ready to share this just yet with other people. But it's not because of shame or anything. It's just that I'm just not ready for that kind of exposure just yet. But in due time, I'll make a grand announcement, and it'll be all sunshine. I can't speak right now.
To me.
And if you're a porn star and you defend yourself, do you know how many people will come at you and say, well, what did you expect?
Yeah.
You deserve it.
You deserve it.
You deserve it. It's like, deserve it? Nobody deserves to be spoken to by a stranger in a disrespectful manner.
Oh, 100%.
Nobody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's bullshit.
Yeah, well.
But now I make fun of it on Dudes Do Better, and so once a week I have to engage. And now, it's you'll love the intro.
See, you know what's cool about this? She's actually so she's done the dark side work, or the shadow work, as we call in Jungian psychology, where she's integrated part of her shadow and she's taken it out in a productive way. This is how you should do any sort of introspective shadow work. Find a productive outlet for it. She's found hers. I found mine with this channel. It's really a good way to come to terms with some of the things that you're dealing with.
To this, because I got engaged, so we go back and forth for a little bit. It is so delusional, the things that I hear people say, but now I'm making fun of it, which makes it easier to
You can make fun of me, Lisa.
But now it's coming to me less because they're afraid they're going to get called out. And now I'm really upset about this. I'm like,
well, maybe you could just like license DMs from other performers.
Don't worry, I'll just put up a bikini shot, or so I'll just throw up a thirst trap photo. That'll engage. Engage. And everyone begging me on the daily, just do one more scene, just one more, just for me. Do one more.
Well, she spilled her coffee. You can tell about the Starbucks
If you've seen
mug.
them all, you should probably read a book. You've seen too many. I've done a lot. Well, I don't need to do more. I've done a lot.
Sometimes it does shock me, like how much material guys like need. Like the one thing that I've noticed that guys ask for me on my OnlyFans, because like we've talked about this.
I didn't realize that Holly was like a porn star. Oh shit! Dude, I know nothing about this industry anymore, and then thank God, because this is. I guess it makes sense what they were talking. Why didn't I notice that before? Okay, so Holly's also an OnlyFans. Okay.
Little,
right.
Very like softcore nudes. I don't even open, like no masturbation, nothing. I'm super, super tame. And people will be like, well, why not? I'm like, just because I don't want to.
Right.
Like, and that's a good enough answer.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't want to. But the amount of guys that want a picture of my asshole, specifically my butthole, that is like so, that is the
weird. Why?
That I get
Why?
So often.
It's a hole. Like if,
I know it's a funny one.
Really?
Do you think it's because they've never been able to be close up to one?
I don't know. I just think that they think that I don't know. Because I feel like
I don't get.
it's like buttholes kind of look the same. Like vaginas look different, but most buttholes pretty much look the same.
Tell you what, the weirdest of all weird comments come in on OnlyFans. They really do think that membership allows them to ask for some weird shit.
Yeah.
Like some Pandora's box. It's a page.
You know what would be a really funny situation? A porn addict goes on OnlyFans using generative AI to create a false persona, and we get to expose all the shit that happens. That's a good idea. We should definitely do that.
You see what you see on here? There's no exceptions to the rule. If I wanted to do it, I'd have done it by now. You'd already seen my asshole. I'd have shown it to you.
There's a message in the beginning when you log in about exactly
what you're gonna get.
Are, but guys are like, if I just ask, maybe she'll do it for me.
It's not even real. It's a photo.
I used to get really angry and like snap back and be like, fuck off. And now I'm super nice about it. I'm like, you know what, sweetheart? I don't have that, but I have this.
It's
because
a curve.
I'm just kind of like,
it's a curve to get used to any new application.
Yeah.
The emotional toll that it plays on you. Mm-hmm. The why, when I was so clear about what you're going to get here. Yeah. It makes you feel like, what, did your mother never say no to you? Like, so you get that. And then once you get over that angst, then you're like, okay, I'll either ignore it or I'll say, hey, thanks, but no, but it's when you stop feeling the emotion towards it, it's way better. I used to get mad too.
Yeah.
Very mad.
But
Like, oh my God, you've seen me do everything. I need to do more.
Always more.
Always. They're like, well, you still look good enough. I'm like, okay, it's not about that. It's not about that.
Wow,
It's
I
nice to
can't.
have my body be mine again. You know, I shoot so
Just
much.
pause. I think I used to think this way. Like when I used to be on Pornhub and just like, oh, this is not good enough. And it just becomes, you objectify them so much and you nitpick on every detail. So you can see it. I used to do that, but I was never, it was always in my head when I was picking videos. This is like, they're experiencing the like my thoughts as text messages, which is crazy. You guys, man, calm down, man. Fuck, it's just, oh man, this hurts me, man.
Like shower stuff, and I'll do a solo masturbation once in a while, just for the kicks of it. But
You know what's funny? They're talking about all this. I'm not getting a single trigger. I have officially overcome porn addiction. I don't know how that voice will sound on the filter, but anyways, it is what it is.
it's nice to be in a different space and to be looking at myself differently.
And also, like, it's your body. You can do what you want.
Right.
Like, you shouldn't really, that's the whole thing. It's like, well, why not? Because I don't want to.
Right.
And that's enough of an explanation.
Yes, no means no. Another thing we try to teach our dudes do better. If a girl says no once, she should not have to say it twice. No does mean no. It's simple. Any language. Niet is no in Russian.
Yeah.
You know, like you can learn it in every language.
Yeah.
It's all the same. One time.
No is a complete sentence.
She has good comedic timing.
Thank you.
I will. Yeah.
Yes. Lisa, this has been so amazing.
Okay, well that's it. That was a long video, but yeah. So that was me, former porn addict, trying to humanize and make a better relationship in my head with Lisa Ann. I've not looked at Lisa Ann in a very long time. This is the first time I've actually seen her just be Lisa. The last time I definitely looked at her was definitely when I was fapping to her years ago. I didn't realize Holly was also a porn star on OnlyFans, or I don't know how that world works. I've not been part of it, but Lisa, like, hold on, it's this movie too. There it is. So Lisa, like, I like to, you know, hopefully you have a fan as like an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur myself. You're definitely like a bit of a hero for me now because like you've overcome your struggle and you have a lot of honesty about what you went through, and you're leveraging that for your brand, but also to help other people. And this video helped a porn addict treat women better, and I think that's like a good thing across the board. And it made for good content because I'm also on acid. And I hope you see that. And I'm totally down for coffee. We should definitely get coffee. Please. That would be a lot of fun. Just like it'd be like two friends we haven't seen in a while and just like talk, you know, just like shoot shit in like in Central Park or something. I don't know. Yeah, this has been fun. I don't know what else I can say, but I hope this served the people watching as I don't know how to put this, but I sorry, my words are getting like starting to peak again. Oh man. I just hope that you're able to introspect with me and maybe, you know, build a narrative around some of these porn stars, because when you objectify them, you remove their story. They each come with stories, and it's like a action figure. Stop opening up the box and playing with them immediately. Read the box where they came from and think twice before opening that box. Right? That's the way I think you should look at it. But I hope this was helpful for my many men and women who are trying to overcome porn addiction, especially the men who have objectified women and, you know, rely on porn mentally on a day-to-day basis. But yeah, this is cool. I can see myself getting coffee with Lisa and it'll be totally chill. And I think that's an accomplishment on its own right. Take care, everyone. This is God's Orphan signing off.